Welcome back to the Forensics Unplugged channel, guys. It's going to be some behind the scenes kind of testing today of a new product from a new brand, Liquid Laboratories Fusion1 solid state ceramic. So it's essentially, it identifies as a paste wax, but it's more kind of truly advanced blend of materials that we'll go into in the video, and proper silane resin. So it's what I call a true ceramic wax that isn't a wax, but you get the idea on that. So yeah, we're just going to be doing some testing on it. So yesterday I laid out all of the products. Now, so it's been in here for a day. That's okay to do gloss testing. So I'll do gloss testing and slickness testing. So we'll have had that 24-hour cure, but I won't put the panel outside and hit it with detergents for probably another 3 or 4 days to just allow it to fully cure off. Maybe a bit longer. I'll have a think about that. Yeah, so that's the first thing. So I'm bringing you in on all this. This is a kind of live video. I'm filming it on proper cam. I should really use this cam. I should use this cam a lot better and just set up shots and stuff. I've got into the habit of using the potato cam because it's so quick, but main cam is better. Main cam is better. It's a half decent camera, this. The image quality is really good. It's a Canon M50. It doesn't like movement, which makes it terrible for vlogging. You know, terrible. You couldn't hold this camera on a stick and use it for all sorts of reasons, but mainly because of stability. But dialogue shots and filming properly with it, you can get very good images. So it's not bad, actually. There's no reason to upgrade, actually. It's quite a good camera. So here's our Gonio photometer, which is what I'm going to be using right now. Well, I've just got one cloth over there. So all these have cured off enough that I can just gently wipe. Very interesting, actually, because can you see on camera? You probably can't. You probably can though. Yeah, you can just about see. We don't have loads of light on it. The Fuso has a better darkening effect on the panel than this product. In fact, so does the built amber, and so does the auto glim, I think. They darken the panel off well. There is a bit of darkening going on with that. You can probably, there's lines, thick lines. I should probably mark them off where there's no product, like here and here, which just gives us a contrast. But yeah, Fuso definitely perhaps winning that darkening battle out of all of those products. But then the auto glim, maybe then the built amber, and the Fusion. So I'm just gonna, it's all cured, so I'm not cross-contaminating. I'm just getting any dust off the panel before we gloss test. Yeah, interesting that. I don't want to, yeah, definitely. So don't worry about those gaps, you see. And this panel was also compounded with wool and heavy cut, so we don't get a flawless finish. And what that allows us to do is see how well the wax improves the panel. Yeah, and definitely, what's she doing out there? It's interesting, actually, isn't it? Because the finish on both the built amber and the auto glim is darker. Actually, very interesting. That's better now. There's some things I was talking about in the main video, or made notes of. This needs a secondary buff, or you get a bit of haloing. And it says that in the instructions as well, and they're right. But after that secondary buff, the haloing goes, and now it starts to cure. So the only thing is, it definitely doesn't have the same darkening effect on the panel as these traditional products, and you can probably see that on camera. You can, can't you? But don't worry about the imperfections in the panel that you're seeing as such, because these aren't abrasive products. Everything they're doing is via filling, and yeah, when we haze them with coarse wool and blue Rupes compound, we give a low level of finish, around sort of 80 units of gloss, whereas if we polish this to perfection, we'd get our panel up to maybe 90, 95 units of gloss and a really good level of finish without all that sort of fine hazing. When you when you polish a panel that highly and you put all these products on, your ability to kind of look at how they appear and improve performance is compromised a little bit, and the differences are too hard to measure. So a good, I've said it before, a good mid-range level of some gloss but some haze, I think gives us a good platform to test gloss and haze. And I've taken pre-reading gloss averages, so 3 reading averages of 20-degree gloss, which is the accurate angle to measure high gloss really at that level, and log haze, which is basically haze. And what I can say is I compounded in 2 halves, so this half first and then this half. This half's a little bit shinier and a little bit less hazy. That was the panel I did this set first. So it's interesting, when you do your second set, your results aren't quite as good, but you're always going to get variance. You're always going to get variance. So I tried to polish the whole panel in one go. I'd get variance across the polishing set. I've been doing this for a long time, and this is something I could talk about for hours. But your first set is better, because I think your second set, the wool pad builds up a bit of slurry. Yeah, interesting. I'm going to try and see how I can get closer with these, and I think you'd have to clean the pad, wash it all out. Perhaps 2 pads would be the way to get them close, 2 separate pads. Anyway, let's turn our camera on here, so just so we can get some shots for the main video when we test gloss. I don't take long to set these shots up. And we'll go in there. I have to be careful with file lengths on this, so you don't want to be recording for too long. What we'll do is put that back over there so we know where we're going. We will recalibrate on our test tile. Just be careful because it's a little bit cold now. I've mentioned before, this thing probably needs the calibration plate should be certified, so it's like verified, so you could take it back to Row Point and have it recertified, because it calibrates off of this plate, which should measure 106.7 degrees. Just make sure it's dust free. So as long as you're calibrated to it, you're okay. You know, you calibrate it every time you use this thing, and yeah, so it calibrated 106.7. So when you read now, when you measure, you should be around, it'd be a bit of variance, yeah, like 0.1 variance. So just gives you an idea if you keep reading. But that variance shouldn't be that much because it's all enclosed. It's a good seal. Well, that's a bad reading. I don't know why it does that. But yeah, just let the machine warm up a little bit. So there, that's perfect reading. So let's delete all data and let's have a look and see what we're getting. So we'll go in on the auto glim. So you can see we've cleared our counters down to 0. So we just do 3 counters and that allows us to get the averages. Forgive the sniffing. So there's our data, 81.3, 20.6. So bit of improvement on gloss, and a good improvement actually, and a good reduction of haze, which is what you expect. So a paste wax, we know, will improve a surface. The worse that surface, the better it improves it. That second reading, even a really good jump up in gloss. But this is kind of consistent with what I'd expect. 3 or 4 units of increment. Yeah, well, a higher log haze reading down there. But we'll go with, there are limitations to this gloss testing. There are limitations. Oh, I've got some tissue. Excuse me. It's this cold dust. So if I go to stats, our average gloss this time was 82.2. Make sure you tap it to get all that rubbish off, or it all goes over the panel. So 82.2, and our log haze was 22.2. So that has improved our deltas, if you like. Our deltas are improved. Sounds good, doesn't it? Right, so let's go in and we're just going to read this. There'll be an improvement, I would imagine, here as well. This looks nice and dark. I can't remember historically. Yeah, there's a good improvement on gloss, good reduction on haze as well. Can't remember. I've compared these products before. I can't remember historically. I'm leaning towards Auto Glim. Might have been the best looking one. No reduction in log haze there from our previouses, but a little bit of increment in gloss. So whatever we get is what we get. Yeah, the bottom of the panel seems more hazy, so I'm going to get an increment in overall haze here, which is interesting. But again, an increment in gloss that's roughly consistent with the Auto Glim. So our average is 81.7 there post reading. So we've had what, about 1.5 increment there and 2 units increment there. Our haze is not going to be reduced; it's increased, which can happen. 21.6, although, yeah, so the whatever reason those readings haven't picked up. But I'd say if you look, look at the difference. That was before. That's with no wax. That's with wax. You'd say, wouldn't you, that, well, that's really improved the haze. But for whatever reason, that goniometer says it hasn't. So maybe that darkness isn't representing what this thing sees. So it is what it is. Yeah, there's all sorts of things with this. The bottom line with gloss testing is what we're doing here is reasonably valid. But the problem is it's not enough data. It's not enough data, as you've heard me talk about. You would need to do this on a whole range of panels, different colours, different starting points, heavily compounded, really low gloss, you know, compounded, polished, high gloss, ultra fine finish. Do the test, take more readings than I'm taking, or across more panels, do all that testing, build up a whole shed load of data, and then go back and repeat it all and keep doing it. Repeat the test 5 times, 5 panels, 10 readings each time, fixed readings as well, and collect a mass amount of data. The more data you can get, the better. And look at the overall averages then, or specific highs and lows. Wow, this is doing well. Oh yeah, okay, but it has a better starting point, but it's still doing well. That's a consistent improvement actually on gloss with the other two, like a couple of units. So let's just take all our readings, but a reduction in log haze, which is good. Yeah, reduction in log haze, increment in gloss. So visually, this product's good, and that would be a concern with something which is chemically different. And again, the bottom of the panel, the log haze seems higher. So consistently, it must be to do with the way I've polished it. Must be. So let's take our averages. We're going to be close here. So we've got a mean average of 86, but that's 2.2 increment, isn't it? Which is, the Auto Glim was 2. So from a gloss perspective, 86. Oh, you swine. Don't want to, you do that too much and you get a flood of that white ink. Oh. Is that running out? Do not run out. Do not run out on me. Right in the middle of testing. Gone through a lot of these pens over the years. They're problematic, these little white pens, because they're like Tipex. And you can get crumbs. Do not run out on me. Hold on a second. Just need to get it going a little bit. What have we got? 86. That'll do. We'll borrow time with that pen. 12.9. So yeah, that so far is probably, well, that's a reduction of log haze is good. So that's 1.6. The Auto Glim reduced the log haze slightly more, but that's good data. That's better, slightly better data than the built Amber. All very close, but yeah, so that's good. you know, that's what this is important. This is important. I'm expecting this Fuso data to be quite good because this panel looks, ironically, you wouldn't think Fuso is a glossy product, but this, just from what my eyes are saying, but who knows, it's just, oh no, that's, well, that's interesting. That might be a dud reading. Let me just dust that panel off. That might be a dud reading because there's no way it's dropped by like 6 or 7 units. Let me just dust that. That might be that white. Might be that white thing. So I've just zeroed that. We'll go in again, and whatever we get, we get. Unless it's 0. No, it's similar. So there's just a, that's lower than the pre-gloss readings. But yeah, interesting, isn't it? Because within Fuso's range, that's interesting. So that didn't increment a count. Oh yes, it did. That did. That's a valid. That's a clear invalid reason. Let's just delete them all. Right. Interesting. Why is this going? Sometimes you get an invalid reading because it's shining light and like. Right. Okay. Good reading, but a low reading. Yeah, I mean Fuso Soft 99 when they listed all their waxes, that's a better reading, but it's still down. It's still down. Log haze has improved, but gloss has gone down. They always said about this wax that compared to some of their others, it wasn't like the glossy one. And maybe that's true because they have like carnauba waxes, sort of show waxes, mirror glaze waxes, which all shine up a lot better than Fuso. Fuso is more like a protective product. So let's just take our deltas. There's a good reduction in haze here. But there's, sorry, let's go to stat. Where's our stat? 78.6. So that's a reduction, that is quite crazy actually. But it is what it is. Yeah, there is compromise with Fuso, but there is nothing that lasts longer. So this is the old Fuso as well. So I said I was going to test this against a load of waxes, and one of my patrons said you should test it against the new Fuso, because you can't get the old one anymore. I wanted to test it against the old one because it's like 20-year-old tech and it's the longest lasting. The new Fuso lasts a little bit longer than double speed, but they're very close. So really, I'm not bringing anything to the party if I bring the new Fuso in. If I use the old one, that stuff is properly, ridiculously like durable. So I want to see if that can beat the old one because I still use the old one. Yeah, so our log haze, good reduction in log haze. Interesting. So, you little swine. Come on, just give it all. I just need a little bit more juice out of this pen. Make a note. What's this? Pilot Super Colour White. Get another one of those. 17.2. Just about. It's right out of juice. I can just about see that. I'll have to do. Oh, I'm not happy with that. It's nice. Just I want to get that 2 so you can see it. Oh, we've got a little bit, we've got something coming out there. That will still dry. 17.2, that'll do. So a reduction in haze, but a reduction, which is good, but a reduction in gloss, which you don't want. Interesting, yeah. Fuso is not the best looking wax, but funny enough, it doesn't half darken off the panel. Yeah, you're probably seeing under the light as well, a bit of haloing, a bit of reflection. You'll get that on all of them where it's showing up the underline swirling, so it's making it look a bit patchy, which is fine. But yeah, that's definitely darkened off. So this ceramic wax here has the least darkening effect. The Built Hamber and the Auto Glim are pretty good on that as well. I would say, to me, this is, I don't know if I'll include this in the main video, but I'd say the Auto Glim wax probably, to my eyes, looks the best. Probably followed by the Built Hamber. Probably followed by the Fuso, because my eyes can see the darkening effect. Probably followed by that. But the gloss meter says this one has incremented the most. and it's reduced haze as well. So the gloss data favours this, and these tests are really, we tend to go with the gloss meter, don't we? Because the rest of it can all just be open to interpretation. If I got 100 people in here and said which of these sections of panel looks the best, I get 100 different answers if I ask for an order. So what's that? Oh, okay, it's because I put it back on there. Get off. How'd you get out of this? Oh, for God's sake, can you turn it off? No, you'd have to just measure. There we go. All right, let's pack that away. Get off. Always keep this in here so that this plate never deteriorates. Try and look after this tool. How'd you go to menu? There we go. Switch off. So we're done with that. I mean, this has been a really handy thing to have over the years. So let's just cover that bit up. Okay, so that, oh bloody hell, I'm gonna have a massive file on this thing. You know, I need a tiny bit of footage off of it as well. Okay, let's just turn that off. We will now just have a look at slickness. How do we do slickness? Hold on a second. How do we do slickness? Where have I done? Oh yeah. So we use these because they're consistent and they've not been used. They're brand spankers. These are my new tilt test standards. There is I can talk about everything here. There is variance, probably manufacturing variance in all of these, even though I mean, these are well made, don't get me wrong, but there's probably like slight differences in weight, direction of texture, but they got micro suede on them, which doesn't tend to, you know, it's just a flat thing, so they're quite good. Which one do I think's the slickest? It's not that one. Fuso is slicker. I can feel when I do that. Maybe it gets slicker with full cure. So but this should be 99% cured, and hopefully it'll carry on. It's not the built hammer, and yeah, I don't think it'll be the auto glim. Oh, the auto glim's not bad though. So if I had to gauge slickness for me, I think it'd be Fuso first. Yeah, definitely auto glim second, which feels nice and slidey. That feels more grippy. Yeah, I would say it would be that one first, then that one, then probably the Fusion, then probably the built hammer. That feels a little bit grippier. Well, not much in it. I could be wrong on these two. They're very similar. So we'll have to repeat this many times as well. Let's get this going. We can put more applicators on. We'll just play around with this, see what happens, see if it goes to the form book. In fact, let me put this here. Can you see? Okay, just hopefully that's good. Hopefully that doesn't fall over. Just bring that up a little bit. That looks like it's in the right place. Let's get these out of the way. I'm going to be blocking your view. Yeah, I'm going to be blocking your view, so I'm going to have to go this way. Can you see anything from there? Where's the table? Oh, it's over there. Yeah, so hopefully that's a good view for you. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Make sure I'm going to be blocking my main camera view, and I just want to pivot. You could, oh, you fucker. Bloody camera. It's bloody camera. This is supposed to be a high quality tripod on this thing, but the bloody legs move on it. They crack, and the mountings for these Jobies, they crack, and then the legs lose their tension. And then, yeah, it's moving. Little bastard. Causing me so much grief. It's like, just Whoever designed these, they just don't test them properly. Right, I do. So I'm trying to make sure I've got good cameraing for 2 different cameras here. It's a nightmare doing this and filming. It just frustrates me. Anyway, get on with it. Okay. Come on. Well, something should be moving now. There it goes. Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. That is definitely slidey, and it's PTFE, and it's loaded with that kind of fluoropolymer stuff, and it is slick Fuso. You know, it's the same tech that's used in the Fuso glass stuff, and it's slidey, and it buffs well. I think the autoglim's going to go next. I'm convinced. Usually I'm right, not always. I'm going to hit the bottom of this. Come on. I'm going to bottom out. I'm going to hit the cupboard, that's what I've got to move it. Oh, you fucking... So, I mean, what a pile of crap. I've got to get this sorted because it's just doing my head in. A tripod that won't stand still. Even though it's on a sticky surface, it's just terrible. Right. Come on. Well, maybe it's so close, yeah, it could be any of them. Well, I don't know. They're going to go in a minute. I think the Fusion's going. That does surprise me. It looks like the autoglim might be stuck. But it's crazy. Come on. That's weird. But that is what it is. That's moving reluctantly. Maybe, yeah. I swear that feels slicker. Let's just swap them all around. Swap all these around. Put the Fuso back on. Try it again. Definitely. Whoa, that Fusion's going. That's interesting. Why is that? That's slicker. That's slicker. What I'm going to do... We'll double up. We'll double up. And then with the double dildo. It's the... yeah, this gives us more. It gives us more. That's slidey as hell. This is not a scientific test as well. Not much is. I mean, it's definitely got to be that Fuso. Maybe. Well, now the autoglim goes. Now the autoglim goes. Bizarre. Very close. That's the least slickest, for sure. This isn't bad, but that's the slidey one. So why this test just isn't? Oh, that's just crazy. Let's try putting these around the other way. But yeah, there's nothing new here, guys. So really, the one that I think is the slickest, well, it slid the first time, now it isn't. I don't feel these... Well, let's just have a look. Bizarre. These should have gone by now. I wonder if it's moisture. Wow. So this side you can see is gripping more. Whoa. Yeah, this side is less reliable, I think. Let's just swap all these around. Do this a few more times. Very strange. I might have to look. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say that regardless of what I feel, the Fusion seems to be doing well on that slickness. You probably expect the Fusion to be slicker than these because these are carnauba wax based. And they've got like hydrophobic polymers in them which can be sticky as well. But yeah, I don't know. The Fuso went first that time. Let's just do it a couple more times. Yeah, you've got to give it to there. That's the slickest, no doubt about it. But I think we're going to find that the Fusion is going to come in second, I think. And then probably the Auto Glim. Yeah, I mean, it's the Fusion. Oh, but not far behind. But that was the Fusion. It's gone more times now than the Auto Glim. Yeah, that is going. I'm giving the second to the Fusion. And then over here, I think eventually it's going to be Auto Glim. Yeah. Auto Glim. And then it's the built hamber. These aren't control tests, just make sure these aren't glued on. Look, yeah. I can feel double speed is quite, it's not like a smooth, velvety show wax. It's a kind of tough, curing, hard carnauba wax. You know, it's a durability product. So we have, seal this back up so it doesn't get all wet in there. Let's turn that off. So our order of slickness is that. One, two, three, four. Let's get that another frame. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we have our gloss data. We have our slickness data. I'm not sure in this video if I'm going to because I want to do a review of this. I don't want to do like the best paste wax and add up all the points and so so I don't think I'm going to do it that way. All this data and just some of these tests we're doing just gives us a little bit more information than we would get if we apply Fusion and kind of look at the hydrophobicity, or this just gives us a little bit of information. Very interesting. Funny enough, this is my paste wax. And I applied it. I didn't prep the panel though. Yeah, I applied it to a panel that was washed but not decontaminated. This panel has got contamination. The Fusion didn't like going on to a contaminated panel. And I can just see stuff that you can't see in the camera, that it sort of went a bit patchy. Mine went on okay. But it's not a meaningful test actually. I won't draw too many conclusions, but the Fusion does not like going on top of contamination, but no waxes do. And it does indeed tell you that you should, for ideal results, polish and decontaminate, or the other way around. Yeah. On here, this car is well maintained and cleaned, and all I did was just wipe an area with just like panel wipe and a clean microfiber. The car's been all washed. But it's got existing protection on it. But I just wanted to take the Fusion wax and apply it to my car, because that's what 99% of people are going to be doing in the bigger market. They're not going to be oh, I've got a new paste wax, I'm going to go and machine prep my entire car. So most people, 99% of the market, buy a wax and put it on their car. So we've tested that, and it's absolutely fine. There's a line that goes down there, but you can't see the line, which is a good thing. In fact, I think I might actually be able to. It might be down there. Well, it was there because I remember, but I can't sort of significantly see where I've put the wax, and it looks good on the car. So that was part of my application test, and I've got it on that wing as well. Was just put it on the car, let it cure off, and see what it's like to apply. Well, I can talk about that now because I'll put this video out afterwards. I was looking to see if there was problems, and there wasn't really problems beyond the fact it's a little bit dry. It's not like an oily, buttery wax. It's a dry material, but it still spreads okay. It's still like a dissolved plastic. It's a little bit more draggy than a show wax, but not significantly worse than any of those. They're a little bit easier to spread, but very similar to the Auto Glim, which is quite a waxy, it's not an oily kind of application. So there's nothing in spreading the wax that would significantly put anyone off, unless you're a real wax aficionado and it's got to be an oily, buttery show wax. It's just a slightly drier wax, if you get the idea. The cure is okay. After about 10 minutes, the film has hardened, but it hasn't gone completely bone dry. Now, when you buff it, it's not as good as like the Auto Glim, where the Auto Glim will haze out, you know, the solvent's vaporized and it's left a soft wax layer, which buffs really nice. The Auto Glim's one of the best on the market for that. It's really good. So it leaves a toughened film of this plastic and Silane or whatever's in it. And then you buff it, and it's a little bit harder to buff, and it does, if you know, as your microfiber picks up wax, you can be more prone to leaving little smears and stuff from where you haven't buffed it properly. But what I think you should do, and like it's on the label as well, is buff it all off as best you can quickly. You know, just buff it all off. It will come off, no problem. But then come back in 10 or 15 minutes and with a completely clean cloth and just buff a final buff with it, because you do have these little fine halos of product still on the surface when you get intense light on it, and you can see it really good on black cars. Other cars you'd never spot it, like silver, you know, you wouldn't see it. Even red you'd struggle to see it, but black you see everything. Yeah, so I'm glad they've got that in the instructions, because it shows me that they've been testing it carefully with light. And that secondary buff, what happens if you just do one buff is also not that untypical of any paste wax. Especially even oily ones, yeah, maybe even specially oily ones. When you buff them, you think they can look good, but on black, if you get the intense light out, you can sometimes see little bits of film and fine film and a haloing, and then it needs a bit longer to then what you've left behind, almost let it cure again a bit longer, 15 minutes to come back and do a final buff. But essentially, it was a pass for me, and when I'm saying pass or fail, I'm looking at that wax and thinking, is that wax good enough to sell commercially? And if that was a failed test, it would be no, but it's a pass test with the caveat, it is not the nicest wax I've ever applied in terms of spread and buff. It isn't, but it's a pass. It's good enough. It's not a problem really. Just, you're not going to go too far wrong as far as I can see. It's decent conditions this time of year to play around with waxes. Yes, it's cool. Yes, it's a bit humid. It's not ideal conditions, but it's not baking hot. So I wonder what it's like in the middle of summer applying this. I just would be cautious about using it in the sun. Same with any wax really. You need, in the summer when it's beating hot, it's much better to do it from inside a garage. So I've just learned some things there about gloss data and slickness, that this product is slicker, though from the feel of it, it's hard to say, but it is slicker and does feel slicker than these Carnauba products, although I did say I felt the Auto Glim felt slicker, so it didn't go to my hands, and there wasn't a massive difference. So there's something in this that's quite slidey. The Auto Glim's, the Built Hammer's not a slidey slick wax. It just isn't. So yeah, but it couldn't match the slickness of this stuff, which is very slidey. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? PTFE is still one of the best low friction slips materials, isn't it? That's why it's used in like frying pans and stuff like that, and you know, deflector shields. I'm joking. So I don't think even a ceramic coating necessarily has better slip qualities than something that's high in fluoro. Or is it fluorine? I don't know what's in there. I don't think Fuso uses micronized powder silica, PTFE. I experimented with that when I was making waxes, and you can get, if you put a fumed PTFE in there, a powder dispersion in your wax, you can get slickness initially, but like I've said before, with solids in wax, as the wax layer erodes, the solids fall out, and from a particle, you know, down at a chunk of solid mass, when that comes out of the wax, it actually leaves an enormous hole behind it. So if you imagine like a bathtub full of air bubbles, you'd think of like an aero bar, but the size of the hole would be more like a football in that bathtub. So that's why micronized powders dispersions in wax formulations are a little bit of a bad thing, and that includes fumed or PTFE powders, silica, fumed silica, so granules of silica, or graphene powder. Those three powders, they can all have good slip characteristics though. So you're better off in a wax blend, in my opinion, not mixing powdered solid dispersions, in my opinion, which is, yeah, not that great. That's just my opinion. I'm not an expert, but I've got some experience firsthand of doing this and using these materials. Yeah, especially PTFE powders. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Now, going back to this wax, going back to this product, the SDSs for this, this is what, you know, this is what really blew my mind, really, actually, because I'll probably talk about this in the main video, but my patrons asked me if I could take a look at this wax, and I was just, as soon as I saw the brand, you know, they gave me the brand name, and it's a new brand. I went and had a look on the website, and I looked at the brand's range of products, and I'll just, you know, I'll be honest, it was very cookie cutter, like all the surfactants and the car cleaning chemicals and the accessories, and you know, it's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's very cookie cutter, and there's nothing that stood out. And I thought, no, it's another brand. That's what I thought. And you know, I thought the wax would just be another ceramic wax that isn't a ceramic wax, because I've seen so many. There's over 100 ceramic waxes, but there's only a handful that are like this, and I didn't think it was like this. I thought it was one of those 100 that's just, you know, might have some fumed silica in it, or some silicon polymer or something, SiO2 polymer. One of my patrons sent me a copy of the SDS, and when I looked at it, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, no, this is the real deal. The marketing blurb for it was interesting as well. I'll talk about that in the main video. So it's got some PDMS, silicon fluid, okay? So I'm assuming that, and quite a lot, this looks like it's the main carrier oil of this particular product. Yeah, so I'm assuming that is a bulk standard linear, you know, non-bonding silicon oil that is used to soften the overall formulation and give you a softer material. Because if you didn't have 20 to 35% silicon oil in there, that material that its backbone with would be like a hockey puck. So the same principle. You could melt it down, but without the silicon fluid, it'd be like a rock. So that's your carrier oil, essentially. Stoddart solvent, low boiling point. So Stoddart make loads of solvents. I would imagine that is a low aromatic hydrocarbon. I'd love to know a bit more. Low boiling point. Interesting. Why would that be desirable? So that's slower, I guess. But that will be a milder solvent, just a bulk standard solvent, I'd imagine. You can be careful sniffing this as well. This is one that I wouldn't recommend you go honking, just because there is silane in there. But what you're getting there is 99% solvent. But never go honking in silane. Like, it's not the sort of stuff you want to honk in. It's odourless, this product. Virtually. So that's a low aromatic solvent, I'd imagine. Yeah, and a good chunk of solvent in there, which is fine. Yeah, rough ratio. Very interesting. Just look very crudely at this. So actives about 30%, solvent about 30% because there's more. Carrier oil about 30%. So it follows the same crude principles of solids to carrier to solvent as other paste waxes, but the levels of how much you've got of all those different things are the things that whoever makes this will be playing around with to try and get this to where they want it to be. And you have to do you have to make it loads of different times and test it and like change these levels, maybe put a bit more oil in, go over the top, go with a real high oily blend version, and then go with a real low oily version and play around, then go with a real heavily dissolved version. That's what I used to do. Go for the extreme end to save you trying to zoom in on where it is. Go for the extreme end and then zoom in on it that way. Anyway. Yeah, this is interesting. So silica gel, trimethyl I don't know what that is. I don't know what silica gel is. Maybe that's the silicon polymer. Yeah, I mean, that's probably what it is. How clever is that and what is that doing? So I would imagine that might be in there. It depends what that looks like. The thing is, I don't think that silica gel is probably in there for durability because it's backbone, this product. Well, actually, no, there is a lot of that gel in there. So I'd be interested to see what that looks like as a raw form, because you think of it as like a liquid gel, but I would wonder if that would actually be more like a hard solid in appearance. I'd like to know what that looks like, because it's a big part of the wax potentially, 5 to 20%. So you'd think maybe like 12.5 or something at least. But there's more of that than there is this product. Ethylene polymer compound. So polyethylene. So this is a plastic. This is like a plastic polymer. Now, when I was making waxes, I played around with polyurethane polymer wax or copolymer, which is basically the same thing, I think. Yeah, and you could melt that down. You could put it into a wax. I also had silicon, not silica wax that you could was a harder wax that you could melt into the formulation to reinforce it. So yeah, very interested in why they've gone with polyethylene as a plastic and not polyurethane and not synthetic carnauba or not even real carnauba. Yeah, probably because it's a cleaner engineered material. What are the characteristics of that material? So if it's a plastic, obviously it's going to be meltable, so you can heat it up and melt it and then blend it. But once it resets again, what are the characteristics of that plastic? Is it used for its durability as a film? So when you melt it and it's dissolved and you spread it, so if you took out all the rest and you just dissolved this, had some silicone oil and dissolved just that with solvent, spread it, and it dries to a ethylene film over there. What are the characteristics? And I think that would be perhaps a more durable film of plastic than perhaps a carnauba wax film. I don't know actually, because carnauba wax is like a really tough resin as well that's stood the test of time, but it's not a pure kind of thing. Carnauba, it's a dirty organic chemical. Not many people have ever played around with this sort of stuff to make waxes, and I know all of the companies in the UK that make waxes for other brands, and I can recognise their products from SDSs. And as soon as I saw that, I couldn't recognise the chemistry. So it's like, wow, yeah, whoever did this is clever, but they've got a certain direction with how they're going with this. Because if you're going to make a car protection product that's a wax, I keep saying it's a wax, it's basically like a paste wax. You start at ground zero with carnauba oil and solvent, and you start there and you do that for a few years, and by the time you've done that for a few years, you've got hundreds of different waxes that you've made, and you might have sold some of those, and you'd have mastered the art of making organic paste waxes. And you do your time, you do your tour of duty doing that, and you might get so into it that you develop an interest and you discover some other materials that you could use. Whereas this company have just gone like straight at the top of the evolutionary chain of wax making in one step with this product, which is very unusual. Okay, very unusual, and that is unusual. And there's not many people that would ever do that, and there's not many people that could get to this stage that I know of. I'd have been, when I was making waxes, if I'd have seen this back then, I'd have been like, holy, what the hell? This would have been really useful information to go and research and try and copy. I mean, be inspired by. I'm joking, but this would have got me like Googling silica gels, and it would have got me trying to source plastic polymers, to different ones to try. Now, anyway, let's work our way through. Next on that list is toluene, which is a very strong hydrocarbon solvent you will find in small quantities in panel white, but there's potentially quite a lot of it there. If we say around 4%, potentially quite a lot of toluene. So why have you got two solvents? Well, that's not uncommon to blend solvents. Some waxes, especially waxes with harder material, might need a stronger solvent to soften it more. If you've just got like a lower, milder solvent in there, it might not be enough. So some waxes have toluene, some have xylene. I use xylene a few times. You don't typically need to use it with organic waxes because you just soften it by other means. But often, here's a good rule of thumb, a wax that has stronger solvents in it like that is able to unlock more performance, because whatever it's backboned, whatever needs dissolving needs more dissolving, so therefore it's going to be like more durable. Now here's the interesting thing: organopolysilane. So I don't know what pre-polymer means. Oh, okay, because that means it's going to change into a polymer with the state change. So organopolysilane. Polysilane, yeah. So let's just talk about polysilane. So many years ago, when we talked about this on the channel, polysilane, there is a specialty company that made the first generation of ceramic resin, this is a specialty resin. And this resin was silicon and nitrogen based resin in the bottle mixed with a butyl ether, and that was essentially the product. Okay, so that was an inorganic silicon and nitrogen based resin that was held liquid form, held in butyl ether, diene-butyl. When you expose that, take the lid off the bottle, the ether disappears, and then it leaves the core resin exposed to the elements, to the moisture, to the air, to the air, the hydrogen and the oxygen. So when you spread it in a film, that ether evaporates very quickly and exposes the core resin. That resin then undergoes a state change into a silicon and oxygen based film, and it's a very hard film, and the surface characteristics of that core resin were self-cleaning dirt release. So it was initially developed to put on building facades, coil coatings, spraying on train carriages for anti-graffiti applications. So it was like a very speciality resin that you could apply, but heavily dissolved and then very hard afterwards, that was capable of forming very thin films, protective films. And it eventually got picked up in the car protection industry at some point. I don't know who did it first. Be interesting. But I think it came out of the Far East. Maybe Japan did it first. I can't remember. But someone made a coating from it, which is very interesting. Nowadays, there are more core resins. And of course, ceramic coating is not just the core silane resin, because that inorganic resin that I've just described to you was developed so that it could be mixed with other resins that are inorganic or organic, and it was compatible with other solvent systems beyond the ether that it's stored in. So you could, in other words, take that core resin and you could mix into it other resins with other solvents. So if you look at the SDS of some coatings, as well as having silane and butyl ether, they might say like siloxane and silicon and give you a CAS number, and then have a solvent, a standard solvent in them, a mineral oil solvent. So some coatings, you spread them out and you'll see a rainbow flash. That's because they've got mineral oil in them. Some of them you won't, and they'll just sweat out and they don't have the other solvent. So yeah, that's why different coatings can behave differently. Where am I going with this? Where the hell, what day is it? Where the hell am I? I get lost in thought in all this. So anyway, this has got up to 5% in it. That number is lower than most of the other true ceramic waxes, which claim to use, I think, don't quote me, but maybe at 20 to 30% organopolysilane or silane resin. And this last thing here, titanium tetrasopropylene, I think that is a titanium. There's not a lot of it in there. I would imagine that is another titanium polymer liquid addition that also state changes, because I've seen that used. That's quite advanced as well to be using that in there. I think that could be like an SiO2 polymer. Some of them have that. That could be like a TiO2 polymer that you put in. It does a state change as well. I don't know. I'm guessing with that, but this is quite clever. Yeah, I mean, this is a very clever formulation. Yeah, very clever. Way beyond what I could ever do. Way beyond what I could research. Way beyond, I wouldn't know what I was dealing with. But maybe, you can get to where this is. This is really clever. Yeah, I've not seen anything like that before. Not seen anything that clever before in a paste wax form. Yeah, and that's what I'm really interested in. This is clever. That's advanced. This is some Breaking Bad Walter White stuff going on here. Most paste waxes aren't this advanced, because it's difficult, and most people don't have even competent, experienced wax makers. This would be a massive undertaking, I think, to go and explore all this and seek out all these materials and play around with them, and where'd you get them from, and how do they work, and why are you putting that one in with that one, and why that. And that's what all the beauty of this wax making is. Now, that's why I'm excited about this product. The reality is that the film of material that's put out there will probably degrade, and I would guess it will degrade off of the panel quicker than this 20-year-old Fuso product, which puts a bit of a downer on it, doesn't it? Not really. It's just this stuff, whoever made that in Japan many years ago, is so far ahead of its time because it's just so far ahead of its time, and I just don't know of any other non-ceramic product that's even got close to it. I'm sure that'll outlast a few ceramic coatings as well. I don't expect this to beat that. Part of the thing is we measure these products via the hydrophobic performance of them, and that measuring of durability through that hydrophobic performance is flawed, because I can promise you that when the hydrophobic performance is gone, there is still films of these products on the panels. Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's true of ceramic coatings as well. Why am I saying that? So when I did testing on ceramic coating durability many years ago on little black test panels I had there, I thought it would be a really great idea to tip on the ceramic coating and have a whopping great mountain of high spot of coating and just let it all cure off, a high solids coating. So it did. I had a big high spot, like, you know, like massive mound of coating. You get the idea. And that panel went outside, you spray it with water and it's all beady and it's lovely, etc. Months later, as it's sat on the little roof outside, my little slanty roof, and you've been washing it every day, like for a while. Maybe like after about 3 or 4 months, that whole panel has completely lost its hydrophobicity. It looks dead as a doornail. Nothing. Oh, the coating's failed. It's gone. But you get it back inside, clean it off, look at it. The mountain of coating is still there. So that film is still there, but it's not repelling water. Why? Why? Because we know the coating is still there because we can see it. We can see the big high spot. It's covered in deposits of stuff. I think mineral deposits, water, oxidization, debris, you know, like if it's under a tree, the same as this panel. If you look very closely at it, it picks up contamination, gets rough. Surfactant films from where you're washing it, and those films you don't rinse them off completely and they can dry a little bit and that all builds up. Environmental contamination, you know, ferrous contamination gets onto the panels, even here. God knows how, it does. All sorts of contamination, so it just gets dirty effectively, and it's dirt and contamination that doesn't wash off. So yeah, that affects durability testing, which is, you know, the whole subject of then can you revive them with acids and alkalines and, you know, jiggery pokery a little bit maybe, I don't know. Yeah, so whatever goes on, I'm expecting the results. I'm expecting the layman's results of this to not be groundbreaking. It may well be, we'll see. I think it's going to be hydrophobic from what I hear. If the layman's results are groundbreaking, for example, the Fusion1 can display its protection and hydrophobicity as long as the Fuso, then that's phenomenal. And then almost like that's the icing on the cake, because we know the chemistry is incredible. And if the end results are just as incredible as something like that, then you've got the full smorgasbord. You've got the, you know, you've got a really good thing there. You're onto it. If it's just decent, that's okay. I'm still blown away by the endeavour, and the formulation still blows me away. That blows me away. Yeah, so it's okay that it doesn't have to be groundbreaking in terms of performance. And I'm saying that because I don't think it will be, but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But yeah, the chemical approach. And it's worth saying that I think really this is their first product. So like, if this is what you can do, imagine what you can do in the next 5 to 10 years if you stick with it as well. Like where you can go with it and the things you can explore. And this is what being a detailing brand should be all about. And there's very little of this going on. There's very little of this going on. And I mean, you know, how many brands have got that Walter White kind of level of passion? And yeah, so this is my paste wax here. And this playing around with this got me excited again and made me remember how much fun it was to play around with all these chemicals. And yeah, I kept this. This must be 6 or 7 years old, yeah? And it's still, look at this, it's still nice and oily and buttery. You'd think it was really like heavy in carnauba, but it's one of the polymers that changes colour when it gets hot, unfortunately. So you've got to try and mix that in at a lower heat. Oh Jesus. Where's that gone? That's the only pot I've got. Hold on, let me get that. Oh, that's okay. Luckily, it's not one of those waxes that falls out the tin. Yeah, you can see it's quite soft. Impervious to everything but water. With a naked gun. So yeah, this wax, and it still works. If I spread this wax out over a panel and leave it 10 minutes, it cures off. And it's hydrophobic as well. Don't worry, I'm not going to be selling it. But it's not bad. It reminded me how good this was. And this was like my best blend, I think. Why did I put PR blend? I don't know. PR... Oh no, PR bead. Don't know what that means now. Or FR bead. FF303. Was that my 303rd blend? I don't think it was. I think that was... Yeah. Anyway, I've got all my little formulas written down somewhere. So I'll have that somewhere. Might, if I sold all my wax making equipment. Good wax, that is. Yeah. So, gonna end this video now. And thanks for watching.